Janice. Welcome to another episode of You the Mom. I'm Janice, founder of Mommy Mundo, and today we will tackle one of the challenges or pain points of many moms and dads today, and that is to teach our kids our own native language, which is Filipino. So, more than this challenge is actually how to raise a bilingual or even a multilingual child, a child who has English probably as his or her first language. Well, because of our educational system, media exposure, and culture. And then introducing our native language, which is Filipino. Well, they say that the best age to introduce language to a child is before 3 years old, as they say, from the age newborn to 3, the children's brains are like sponges. And so learning a new language or learning languages is actually a tool that will benefit your child in life and in school. So other than that, it also helps with brain development, confidence. It helps build stronger bonds with family and people around the child. Of course, have better communication skills and be ready for school and all the challenges that life brings. So today is such a treat because I have with us today my good friend and a Mommy Mundo partner the past decades. Um, she's actually the director of the Learning Library, which for over 15 years has been offering reading and writing programs for ages 3 to 16-year-olds and have been helping children develop excellence in reading and confidence in Filipino. Um, she's a friend of mine and has been on call every time we need to do content or workshops or seminars about this topic and also about literacy, which is one of her passions. But behind the scenes, she is a mom of 3 children, ages 19, 17, and 11. And they're all avid readers, of course. She's been doing parenting talks for many years, and she's even actually joined the academe, teaching marketing and a whole lot more. And she finds fulfillment in helping many moms instill the love of reading in their kids. So today we have a very rich topic, so I won't delay this any longer. Let's all welcome Vanessa Bicomong or Vanny.
Hi there.
Hello,
Thanks,
Vanny.
Janice. Thank you. Hi. That was my life. What an intro. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to say everything that I
And that
know
was it.
about you, and
That was it.
and I still realize that there are things I don't know about you. Because when I talk, can we talk? We kind of go. We're so passionate. We always talk about all the things we're doing, all the things we want to do. So I want to ask you first. One question is, how did you start learning library? So first, maybe talk about your mom life. So I know you have 3 kids. I'm not sure if the ages are updated.
Yeah, they're both in college now. So it's 2018 and 11.
Yeah. So I've known you since you were still single.
Single, yes.
And you were in marketing in an FMCG company at the time.
Correct.
And then you got into, you set up your own company, which is Learning Library, and you're still actually doing corporate work. So tell us about your life and how you eventually set up Learning Library.
Okay, thanks. It was serendipitous. I went through actually 12 corporate jobs, would you believe? I went through 12 corporate jobs, and they were all through headhunters. My headhunters are my friends.
Yes.
One of the places the headhunter sent me to when I was in corporate marketing was in Scholastic, which is the Harry Potter company. And
Yes.
so they wanted to put up a reading center in a community, and the first pilot was in Loyola Heights, near Ateneo. It didn't quite pan out because what they decided to do was take the program and send it to schools. So if you are part of a school that had Scholastic, the reading program, that program was originally part of our center, which was renamed the Learning Library in 2009. So since
Okay.
2000, yeah, so I was an employee, I put it up, I got a franchisee, and then in one of my last corporate jobs, kinumusta ko sila. And then they said, we want to incorporate. Would you like to be one of the incorporators? And I go, ay, hindi ako taga-pirma lang. I'm going to take an active part in this. Um,
Yeah.
one of the reasons that I wanted to take an active part, of course, aside from my love of reading, I have more than 1,000 books in my home, I think. Sa madami. Filipino was a big
Yeah.
concern. And I believed at the time that it can only grow bigger, the issues that parents have for Filipino. And here we are in 2021, and it's true, right?
Yeah. It is,
No,
yeah.
nobody kasi does anything about it. Which is why we want to do things in the learning library. I wanted to make sure that all our programs have a unique need that nobody quite addresses properly. So as
Yeah.
from the way we do reading to Filipino, we have information design. I'm proud of it. Nobody has information design for kids. We have public speaking for kids. That's very practical and very affordable. So that's the ethos of our program development. But Filipino is
Yeah.
our flagship.
Yes, yes. I know that before you were just doing literacy, so teaching kids raising readers, right? Raising readers
Yes.
and then teaching Filipino. And then yeah, I know that you've developed more programs. In fact, my daughter is enrolled right now
There you
in
go.
your writing program with Leah
Yes.
Erigel. Hello, Leah.
Hello,
Um,
Leah.
yeah. And I know that your company is really passion driven. Like I
Sobra.
can see actually everything you do naman is passion driven. Plus you have so much energy. So
There you go.
I really love it. So thanks, Vanny, for sharing your time and talent and your knowledge with us all the time.
Of
So
course.
but you're right. Our topic is so relevant today. First of all, why do you see that there's a challenge with kids learning Filipino when, first, some families do speak Filipino at home? And the second is, we always say, I learned it naturally. Like, I didn't have to take Filipino classes and I didn't struggle in Filipino classes. But why is it that kids today have a difficult time?
I think if you were to be a child right now, parang nag-body switch kayo ng anak mo. You will find out that they can go a whole day without hearing any Filipino word. At least in some circles that we have to assume that it's a certain
Yeah, it's generalized. Yeah.
kind of environment. But, we have students from Bulacan, for Filipino. And this is like, cradle of pagiging makata, na Bulacan. So,
Correct.
a lot of it is media. I believe it's when media became by choice. Kasi dati when you turn on the
Yeah.
TV, you have no choice. You have to watch
True.
whatever's there, right? But now it's on demand. Music is on
That's
demand.
true.
Video is on demand. You will not choose a language that you're not comfortable with. At the beginning, let's say sanay ka sa Filipino, but really the content is not as rich. Those
Yeah.
who make content for English can spend it because it's a global market. Samantalang
Right.
sa Filipino, 'di ba? Your market is really the local market lang, and then it doesn't make sense pa kasi the ones who have can afford choose
True.
English, right? So
That's
it's a
true.
matter of
So
ano
it's really media exposure. I mean,
it
I
is.
even noticed before that kids grow up with an accent, di ba? We're like,
Yeah,
accent ng anak mo,
yeah,
di ba?
yeah. My own
Because of
children.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oo.
Yeah.
And then the parents think na, matututunan naman yan sa kaibigan. Paano kung lahat kayo ganun yung ginawa?
Yes. And that's
Diba?
what's happening now, right?
That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's not the parents' fault. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
always tell parents na hindi nyo alam, parang in English ako, akala ko naman pagtatagalog naman yan sa labas, not realizing that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so we backtrack a bit to what I said earlier about the earliest time
yes.
you should teach your kids a language. So they say nga, I think before nga I heard below 6 because the kids' brains are still sponge-like or something. But now we say 3. But I know you say like from the beginning you teach them or you talk to them basically.
It's it's the particular for the Filipino language learning in the Philippines. Do you know that when you go on tour groups, magugulat sila kasi on tour groups abroad, nag-uusap-usap sila sa sariling language nila. Pagdating doon sa Filipino, nag-English sila. Diba? So parang, bakit? Diba? Kasi nga, nasanay tayo na nag-English tayo to the point na it is not even our mother tongue, really. So in the learning library, we tell parents na, mommies, iba po kami magturo ng Filipino. We're teaching Filipino as a second language, FSL. Oh, wow! They're in denial pa. Yeah, but mommy, it really has come to that. Now, the reason we want you to speak earlier is because paglabas nila ng bahay, they're gonna hear English na. So you are the sole environment na,
Environment.
na kaya mo i-control. Kung kaya mo
Yeah.
i-control yung environment sa bahay, then you have to start early because
Yeah.
at the moment they step out of your door, it becomes totally
Yeah.
different na, di
And
ba?
I connected to what you said earlier about kids reaching out for media that they're comfortable with. So
Yes,
if at home, at the
they
early
watch Peppa
stages,
Pig. Di ba?
yeah. So of course the comfort level is English, and then
Yes.
they will always reach out to media that's
Yeah.
in English. That
Yeah,
makes so
yeah.
much sense actually.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
parents ask pa, wala kasing batibot. Sabi ko, mommies, dumating uli yung batibot, hindi nyo sila tinangkili. Kaya nawala na yung batibot. You know? Parang, don't say it's because of batibot.
True.
It is
But
really
then is there a lack of material also?
it
Is
is.
that also a concern? Yeah.
Definitely. I've become friends with Adarna, with Tahanan,
Yeah.
all of them, because I told them that you're not making books for art students. Those level readers to level 1, 2, 3, 4 when you learn how
Yes,
to read.
yes.
Yung very simple. There's no Filipino level readers. And
Ah,
then we don't even have young adult. Parang from Adarna storybooks, ibong Adarna na.
that is
Parang
true.
like
So there is a
Charlotte.
lack. There is a lack. Also, how about multimedia? So besides books, there's also a lack on YouTube and
Yeah, because the quality rin, they're not, how do I say this? Even the storybooks that I have right, I mean, they try to be engaging, but a lot of them have a moral lesson, have a social studies lesson. Parang there's not enough books na talagang patawa lang. Yung fun lang.
leisure. Leisure.
Leisure pleasure reading.
That's true.
My favorite example nga is this book na ano ba yun? Jamberry. For parents who know Jamberry.
Okay.
When I was in Scholastic, it was one of the top books. I'm like, what the heck is this Jamberry? It's nonsense. I brought it to my children who were 6 and 7 at the time. They read it every night for 2 weeks. It was
Wow.
just nonsense. It was really just nonsense. Jamberry. Pick me a blueberry. Parang there's this bear and this boy going through worlds of
Yeah.
berries. This is the blueberry, strawberry. Wala. And you need more Filipino books like that.
Yeah.
You really need.
Okay. So like when I was my kids were young in school, so they both went to Ateneo, my boys in grade school. So you know how rigid the Ateneo
Yes.
Filipino classes, like everyone, siguro majority were like struggling, right? Talagang pain point of Ateneo parents. I'm not sure about other schools. And then the teachers would always say, it's really exposure. Like you have to
Yes.
talk to them in Filipino at
Ah.
home. So it's nice that you say it's not the parents' fault. It's for
not.
mom's guilt.
It's not but you could have done something about it if you knew earlier, which is why we're here.
Okay. So now that you know,
now that you know, okay, I'll give you stats. Parang what is enough exposure, diba?
Yeah.
So there's a study that says to be fluent in any language, you have to be exposed to it. Get this, 30% of waking hours. 30% of waking hours. That's equivalent to what? 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
At the very least. Or 5 hours a day, right? So, swerte na tayo ng 40 minutes.
Correct.
Diba? So if you're not making the effort, it's like your 10,000 steps. Hala, hindi pa ako nagti-10,000 steps.
Okay, if that's the number of hours, 30 hours. Kasi I know some
30%.
families, 30%. I mean, some parents in schools, they just do na lang like 1 day a week. So like in recess school before, it was Bibong Biyernes.
Yeah.
The Bibong Biyernes. Is that enough? Like, can it be just 1 day, or does it have to be like constant?
If it works, kasi baka nakalimutan na niya. You know what I do for my children? I have, alam mo yung 3 o'clock habit? Kami may 8 o'clock habit kami. Yan. Kanina nag-alarm na. 11-year-old na, ko kasi mag-high school na siya. So, may 8 o'clock habit kami. You must have a non-negotiable time, and then you try to extend that. Parang kasi, ayoko na
8 o'clock, 8 p.m. onwards, Filipino
time. At the very least, we'll do 30 minutes because the hardest thing to do is not even speaking. Kasi we've been doing this for so many years. Okay naman kami ng konti sa speaking tsaka sa comprehension. Yeah. It's writing. Yeah. Because
okay, which brings me to my next question. Why is it difficult? Sometimes the kid can speak Filipino like every day. Pero in school, suddenly like having a hard time.
Because there is formal Filipino. Formal
Formal
Filipino is
Filipino.
different from conversational Filipino. And you don't even need to look too
Yeah,
far. There are kids who are very good speaking, but when they write, it sucks.
that's true. Yeah, it's a
Because nga,
different skill altogether.
oh, speaking and comprehension and writing are totally different. So in the
Yeah.
learning library nga, we used to have a reading program. We have retermed it English as an English program, English Edge, because
Yeah.
ultimately it is writing. Parang everything that we do, reading comprehension is supposed to give you good content. What do you write about? And then
That's
there is
right.
form. How do you write it?
Yeah.
So it's the same for
Yeah.
Filipino, di ba? Ano ang
Yes. Yeah.
naiintindihan mo ba? Tapos, paano mo
Yeah.
siya ilalahad sa pagsusulat? Um,
Yeah.
in Ateneo, you mentioned Ateneo, di ba? We've been in Loyola Heights. Our head office is in Loyola Heights.
Yes.
Grade 6 ang tataas ng grades ng Filipino ng grade school. Pagdating ng high school, bumabagsak. Kasi
Yeah.
sa high school was about writing na.
Writing.
Oo.
Yeah.
Hindi na to yung mga fill in the blanks, mga matching
Okay, so
cards.
if that's the case, how can parents prepare their kids for more writing? Like we say, kunwari, the 30% is verbal.
It's
Diba? Like
exposure. Yeah.
exposure and
Uh,
then
you
everyday
talk.
communication. But how about the writing? Like
It's
should
it's
we
a,
do
it's the
exercise?
same as it's the same as English actually. You can do writing prompts. I use English writing prompts. I do.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I give her what I do sometimes pag tinatamad siya to think from the very start. I give her favorite book. So she has this math book called The Number Devil. And then she will read it again and then she will type The Number Devil in Filipino. Yan. So,
Oh.
inoorasan ko yan. Okay, in 45 minutes, ilan ka? 200 words? Okay, bukas. Kasi mag-high school na siya, Janice. Mag-first
Oh,
year na siya.
your
Yun, so,
youngest.
yeah. So, I said, yes, you can do it, but can you do it fast enough? So, nandun na kami, from vocabulary to, and one thing I've done is that we have a vocabulary notebook. Kasi, mommies, makakalimutan nila yung tinuro mo ngayon. Bukas nakalimutan na nila yan.
Yeah, that's true. With all the data that they have, the content that's coming at them.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
even in English, apparently you have to be exposed to a word at least 3 times for it to be part of your vocabulary. So if you
Yeah.
don't keep seeing the word because you don't read enough Filipino,
Yes.
then you write it and then you use it in a sentence, balikan mo bukas. I remember magsasaka, ang tagal bago naalala ng anak ko yung magsasaka. Hindi ko alam kung bakit.
Yeah, there's certain words that stick and some don't. I noticed that also.
Exactly.
Can we do a stage by stage of
What?
how we can help our kids learn
Okay.
Filipino? So of course, diba? So kung baby up to like
From the
1 year
start,
old,
basta
no, pre-reading. No, what we
pre-reading,
do is
you
pre-reading.
expose them. Exposure
Yeah.
begins from the very start. Have them hear Filipino around them. Hindi pwedeng si Yaya lang. Okay.
Yeah. Wait, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a bit. Okay, there's
Okay.
two things. Di ba they say, watch Filipino shows or teleseries. Then the second thing is, Yaya, talk to my kids in Filipino. Okay, what can you say about
Yeah,
those two things?
nako, I can talk the whole day about this. But Yaya will eventually speak in English pag nag-give up na siya. Hindi mapipilit ni Yaya na sumagot ang anak mo. And mommies and daddies, the important thing is ibalik sa inyo. Lagi yan sa learning library. Marunong naman po, nakakasalita, nakakaintindi pero hindi nakakasalita. Diba? So, it's si Yaya, pwede niyang ayoko na, mag-i-English ako sa'yo. Pero pag si mommy at si daddy with proper intentional parenting has to come to the fore, then make the child give it back to you. Sometimes when you ask them something and you kind of feel that they're putting those words together, ibigay niyo na yung sagot, tapos ipabalik mo sa kanila. Yes, for example, saan ka nagpunta kanina? Nagpunta ako sa park. Balik mo nga sa akin, nagpunta ako sa park. Yan. Kasi hindi nila kaya diba? So you try to do that. The important thing is they say it, even if it's wrong. One tip you can always put in your head is speak to be understood, not to be correct. Doon muna tayo. So stages, diba? Stages, diba? Speak to be understood. Not necessarily to be correct. Because what you want is that they keep trying.
Yes.
They keep trying. Like, there's this child na hindi nagsasalita daw sa bahay, nanalo ng Filipino contest sa school.
Wow.
Oo, na-shock yung magulang. Kasi mommies, hindi nyo kasi sila binibigyan ng pagkakataon na magkamali.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so there.
Yeah.
The second one is about Filipino shows, diba?
Yes.
When my youngest was like 8, Mommy, why are they always shouting in the teleserye? It's not for them. And that we
True.
go back to the issue of media that's, for them. We don't have the
Yeah.
BBC in the Philippines, na para the government really makes
Right.
content
Yeah.
for
Correct.
education.
Education. Yeah.
And then the second thing I will tell you, so one is the appropriateness, which also leads to, are your kids really interested in this? Do you want them to be interested in these teleseries? But the
Yeah.
second one, alam mo yung mga dubbed.
Yes.
Okay, English is infinitely shorter than Filipino, right? So pag sinabi mo ng
Yeah.
I went there, nagpunta ako doon. On screen, natapos na niya yung I went there, nagpunta ako doon, di ba? Nagpalit na yung screen, di ba? What
Correct.
happens? What happens? Yung nagdadub, bibilisan niya yung words para mahabol niya yung salita. So
So
your
it's not the
child,
natural.
no, there your child
Right.
cannot follow because it's too fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Oo. And then the words are minsan yung mga malalalim na hindi naman eksakto. So sometimes very literal naman yung pag-translate nila na the child cannot have as much sense because nga, mabilis na nga siya, parang hindi pa yun yung tamang word.
Yeah.
Hindi
Right.
siya, di ba, when you translate something, you should get the gist and put it in your own words. Do not translate things line by
Yeah.
line because it's not going to be a coherent and
Yes.
engaging
True.
composition, di
Correct.
ba?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. So
not
thank you
meant
for
for that.
sharing those things. Yeah. So if it's so appropriateness is really important in terms of media. Well, in general, really, diba? Whether it's Filipino or anything else. With regards to the yayas, that's such a good point. I mean, my yaya before when the kids were small, I overheard her telling her friend, "Ang galing-galing ko nga mag-English eh."
Yan.
Yeah. So
Yung mga, dalhin mo yung anak mo sa kalaro, sabihin mo sa kalaro, kaya kita dinadala dito para magtagalog kayo. Ako hindi magpa-practice talaga ng English yung kalaro.
okay, so again, so we go through to the stages, right? So pre-reading, so exposure, like speaking to them and stuff. So that's so
Yeah.
that they become comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And then when they start preschool,
So there's
we can
books.
start with the books. Yeah.
Okay, so
So
can I talk about books? So
yes, please. Yeah.
not all of them are fun, and if they say it's grade 1, actually hindi yan grade 1. They're grade 1 for native speakers. So you
Yeah.
are the best person to level your own children's books. Kaya ba nila to? Right?
Yeah.
And then we have what we call in the learning library the 5-finger test. Parang pick any 5 random words. There should be only one or two, one lang na hindi yan naintindihan para it's just the right challenge. If all 5 words hindi alam ng anak mo, then definitely it's not something for them. Now,
So
what
you
you can
choose 5 words that
5
you
words
focus on.
randomly. No, randomly pick 5 words. It's a sampling, right? So
Yeah.
dapat 1 or 2 lang ang hindi nila naintindihan for it to be just right. If it's more
Okay.
than 2 words na hindi nila naintindihan, then you have to read it with them. Right? So it is
Okay.
not independent reading. But maganda naman yung may konting challenge.
Right.
Maghanap naman kayo. Google Translate is your
Yeah.
friend. I mean, I'm not even insisting that you use a physical dictionary anymore. But
Yeah.
but help them kasi maraming definitions in your Google. So anyway,
True.
one is make sure it's the right book. Two, have you read it to them and unlock some words. But you know what I used to do?
Yeah.
Because my kids kasi did not speak English until they went out the house. Tinagalog ko talaga yan sa bahay.
Oh.
So what did I do with the Very Hungry Caterpillar, di ba? Binasa ko si Very Hungry Caterpillar in Tagalog. As in, nag-translate
Wow.
ako. Yun. So
Galing.
you can do the same. You
You
can
should have published that, man.
I know. Yeah. But I'm having a video done on the Learning Libraries
Amazing.
website.
Yeah.
So you
Love
can
it.
even if you can even do it in English, if there's a book that the words are not fit for your child, then you translate it in easy
True.
English, right? And you can
Yeah,
use the
yeah.
same thing in Filipino. There's even books, those books na walang words?
Yes.
That's meant for you,
Oh.
to create your
Then
own
you,
story.
to narrate it yourself.
Yes.
That's
So
nice.
ito na yung general plot, di ba? Nakakatawa pa ngayon kasi parang iba na yung storya bukas, which is fun, But
Yes.
you can take your child's favorite book in English. Kung hindi nyo kaya mag-translate on the fly, patungan nyo ng, post-it.
Yeah.
Ito siya, di ba? Yun. So that your child gets to hear good stories in Filipino if you cannot find them. if you cannot find them,
I
um,
love
uh,
it.
gumawa kayo ng paraan. Because at that stage, yes, it is books. Yan. Books
Yes,
talaga.
yes.
Books.
Okay, and then when they start elementary school, like,
Ayan.
so that's
The
still
num-
books, of course. Books,
it's
hopefully
still
you're
books.
already going the different level of books. But when they start, yun nga, that's already starting to write and everything is,
Oo. Yeah, try to be correct na to. Yan.
yes.
Hopefully they have what's my definition of speak to be understood. Jollibee tayo bukas. It's incorrect, but you understand
Yeah.
it, right? Right. So in
Yes.
school, Jollibee tayo bukas becomes magpupunta tayo bukas sa Jollibee,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the child has
Right.
some, some exposure to the grammatical patterns already, so that it's going to be easier. Yeah. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
why don't force it agad.
It's
And
nice. That's
then,
a good stage, no? So at least this is the time that you already correct them so that they're guided into the right
oo,
form.
oo. It's the same as English, right? Yung slang and
Yes.
formal, di ba? It's the same.
Yeah. I mean, even spelling, diba, the text speak, and then
Yeah,
you go,
yeah.
okay.
And so,
Okay.
parents will say na parang, baka matuto siya ng mali. Sige, kung kaya ng anak niya mag-formal agad, good luck. Pero,
Yeah.
and they'll say, they'll find it harder because that's not what they hear every day. Right? So
Yeah.
pagdating mo ng school, there's formal. And my tips there are, wag niyo pagtatawanan. Or wag niyo,
Yes.
maraming natatawa. Or worse, nag-give up. Parang, ano ba naman yan? Ang dali-dali lang.
Yeah.
Mommies, they don't hear this. Maybe in
Yes.
your time, they
So
would. But
no judgment, mommy. So no judgment. Like
oo,
they're also trying
oo.
to learn, and it's okay to make
There.
mistakes and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Pero minsan nakakatawa talaga at minsan nakaka-frustrate talaga. I mean,
Yeah, of
let's be
course.
aware. Let's be aware. And let
Yeah.
it not show.
Yeah,
Same thing.
that's
Yun.
true.
And then,
Okay, so that's really cool tips. What how about flashcards? Do those help too?
vocabulary kasi,
Yeah.
so in the learning library, it's a literature-based approach.
Yeah.
Because words in isolation are not going to be as well
Absorb.
remembered
Yeah.
as
Attention.
words in a sentence. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's best talaga if you
It's in
do it in context of
book.
literature.
Yeah, literature. Okay.
Literature-based pa rin.
Cool. That's really exciting. I wish I knew all of this when I was younger.
Yun, I think from corporate, pinadala ko ng Diyos sa learning library for my kids.
Yeah, that's true.
What helped my kids be good in Filipino when I moved them? So this is what happened. And I'm not saying that you can do it yourself. Baka sana nangyari. But when I moved them from a progressive school to a traditional high school, back in the day kasi there were not a lot of options for progressive high schools. So I really aimed to bring them to a traditional high school. Yun, galing nila mag-Tagalog after 1 quarter. Kasi nagtatagalog yung mga kausap nila.
Yeah.
So kailangan talaga ng kausap. And we say the same thing pala for younger kids, ha? Kung magpa-practice ka, mag-practice ka sa kalaro. Bakit? Pag hindi kita nakausap, hindi tayo makakapaglaro. There is a big incentive to communicate, yes. Diba? At hindi to magko-code switch sa'yo, hindi siya biglang mag-i-English. Sige, nahihirapan ka pa na mag-Tagalog, mag-i-English ako. My gosh, you're gonna be forced to do it, right? So, any environment that, diba, you can speak good French if you're in France, it's the same,
that's
right? So
True.
look for an environment where they are going to be motivated, or wag man forced, motivated to learn.
Yes. Let's not lose hope, moms and dads. I don't know if everyone still feels this way, but we need to keep our language alive. It's really a beautiful language. I appreciate it more that I'm away. Everything, OPM, Filipino language. Yeah, and then just speaking it, you'll see so much beauty in the words, right?
I have 2 kwento there. When my child was reading No Limit Angere, and I had a learning library teacher go through it, you know what she said? Mami, ang ganda pala ng pagsulat ni Jose Rizal, no? Yung ganon, the beauty of it. And my number one reason for making, my number one hinayang if my kids do not end up learning Filipino is mass songs. The songs, diba?
Yes. True.
Diba? Diba? It's not even,
Yeah,
of course, OPM, right?
that
But
is
mass
true. I'm
songs.
realizing that now,
Diba?
unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah. Kasi we love, because Gary and I, di ba, we were in a Catholic org, so mass songs were our lives, di ba? So, Bukas Palad and all. Yeah, and they can't sing it, di ba?
diba?
Except for a few English songs.
Diba? Diba? Parang,
That's
this is your
true.
faith, diba? And it is
Yeah,
beautifully expressed in Filipino, and you
that's
can't,
true.
diba? So,
Yeah.
doon ako nanghihinayang. Plus,
Yeah.
how can you love your country if you can't talk to your fellow men? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's really true.
it's
Yeah.
really
So this podcast is dedicated to our Filipino listeners. Um,
yes.
let's not lose that. Let's not lose the love of our language in our children. It's an aspect of parenting that we need to. Intentional parenting still
It
has to
is.
come in here. Take some effort, but I think what you invest in the early years will pay off, as you can see in Vanny's own story. So, Vanny, I want to take this last few minutes
Okay.
to talk about the Learning Library. You've helped so
Thank you.
many parents, really. I mean, I think one of the wish lists of most parents is to raise a reader. Diba? And then, so tell us about your programs. How is it different, and what age
Ah,
should moms and dads enroll them if it's literacy, reading, or Filipino?
thank you. We've shifted to online, so it has to be a child who can already sit in front of a camera. So normally, 3.5 are welcome. Either for reading, we teach kids how to read, all the way to writing, um, research. Yeah, so the whole
Oh,
gamut.
yeah.
3.5 to 16. We make it a literature-based approach, which has been proven to be more effective, and because it is more suitable for children who love a story, and Christ taught in parables, right? It's a story that people and students relate to. So if your child learns how to read in the context of literature, then your child will like to read, and it becomes a virtuous cycle because those who
Yeah.
love reading are good in reading. Yeah, so that's our reading program, which is all the way to writing. For
Yeah.
Filipino, we start with Balarila. We start with vocabulary and then Balarila. And it's a level program that is supplemented by books from Adarna. So we have Adarna storybooks online, plus our own
Yeah.
Balarila videos and Balarila activities. Plus, we have the most engaging teachers on the planet for Filipino. That's
Yeah, that's
a,
really important.
it is. And that's why we cannot automate our programs. Kasi nga, pumupunta yung bata, ayaw niya. Kaya siya
Yeah.
pumupunta sa learning library kasi ayaw niya. Normally, these are very smart kids.
Yeah.
And these kids have Filipino as their only subject that they're not quite good at. So we want to give them confidence. If you need help in giving your children confidence in beginning where they're at, if school expects a
Yeah.
higher level, let's bring it back so that they can
Yeah.
get
Close the gap, no?
close the gap, build
Yeah.
fundamentals so that there's speedy um, progress towards the goal, which
Yeah.
is for you to write in Filipino very well.
Yeah. And just being comfortable, make it more natural. The
And
use of
ano, kung hindi man natural sa'yo, you like it. Meaning,
yeah.
hindi ko kaya
Like
yan,
it's
pero
comfortable.
maganda. Oh, be comfortable, at least listen to
Comfortable
it.
or liking it.
Oh,
Yeah.
listening
Either
to it.
way, it's enough, diba?
It is.
So how often are the sessions? Like, is it once a week enough, or how
Yeah,
often is the ideal?
we give you asynchronous and synchronous lessons. So we have twice a week at the center at the center online with the teachers
Online.
online, and then we give you assignments that you submit on Google Classroom so that there's something every day. My daughter kanina was given something about batas militar, and my teacher was so amazed na my daughter had an opinion about martial law. So I mean, just to illustrate that we try to give them topics that they really want to talk about, and relate to. Even if it's not a story, then it's something happening in their lives, which they may not be experiencing in school, especially if your school follows a
Yes,
textbook.
that's
Right?
true.
Uh,
Yeah, so at least it's more relatable, and
it is. It is.
the retention goes higher when you talk stories and when you talk about things that's relevant to them.
Yeah, and we even have something. It's free, but you have to follow our Facebook page to know the schedule. We have online tambayan every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. We bring you on an online field trip. So we went to
Oh,
Luneta.
nice.
Yeah, we went to Luneta. We went to National
Yeah.
Museum. I just wrote to Tony Lambino of the Museo of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas today. Hey, we want to visit the Money Museum because you can learn history through money. You
Wow.
know?
Wait, so the teacher goes on the tour and
So
then
we
they're on
get
Zoom, the kids are on Zoom?
we just get video sometimes, di ba? We get videos and then we talk to you about this place.
Yeah.
But like for the Rizal house in Calamba, somebody said that yes, we can do a tour for you. You know. So
That's so interesting,
yeah,
Vanny.
yeah. And then for Batas Militar for martial law, we got the high school teacher of social studies from Ateneo who's going to take you through all the different places na very important to the martial law story. Galing nga eh. Galing nga eh. You
I
can have
love
so
it.
many ways to do it because ultimately, Filipino must be relevant to you. Why should I learn Filipino? Because I am Filipino. And a lot of times kids do not understand how rich your culture and history are. Yeah. So we
That's
try to make it come alive. As you said, passion.
I love it, Vanny. Thank you for all that you do.
It's our pleasure.
Much needed now. As you said, there's no one or very little establishments and individuals who focus on this. Well, we want to give a shout out, of course, to teacher Annie Almario, who's founder of Adarna Books
Our
and
partner.
doing a lot as well on her own. But more is needed, and it starts
Yes.
at home. It starts with us parents. So
That's
you
why
got to
I'm
do
here.
something now that you
Yes.
know you can't anymore.
No
No excuse.
excuse. No
Since
excuse.
you listen to this podcast, you have to do something.
Yes. And yes, please share with anybody that you know na
Yeah.
nahihirapan.
Yeah.
Oras, pasensya, at tiyaga. That's what we always say.
Or
Oras,
pasensya.
pasensya, at tiyaga.
Love it. In anything, actually, right?
In anything. But most especially
Fanny. So
Filipino.
tell us your social media pages, your website. Where can they find you?
Yeah, we're on learninglibraries.com, learninglibraries with an IES.com. There is the Learning Center, which is our blog. You will find a lot of articles there. Everything that I've been sharing, it's all there so that you can read more about it in your spare time and share it. We have Instagram and Facebook, the Learning Library, and Wikay Galing. Wikay Galing is our flagship Filipino program. And
Wikay Galing.
Wikay Galing.
I
Wika ay
love it.
galing. Wikay galing. And we have several programs, but our teachers are also doing all subject tutorials in case you want a one-stop shop and you don't want a separate teacher for Filipino and other subjects. We've come up with programs to help parents with whatever they need for school.
Yeah. Thank you, Vanny.
Thank
It's been a
you,
big help. I always learn something new from you, whether
and from
about
you also.
literacy, thank you, and also our love, entrepreneurship and marketing. So stay energetic and passionate.
Always, always.
Yes, and then we're always here for you also, just the way you have been with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, mommies, I hope that you learned a lot as I did from Teacher Vanny. Let's try to do what we can with our children. We are our kids' first teachers. And as we said, now that you know what to do, there's no more excuses. And if you need help, just reach out to the Learning Library and Teacher Vanny. And for sure, they'll give you advice or give you programs that might help you with your parenting. Thank you for joining us here on You the Mom, and thank you to all of you who listened today. Just remember, mom life is something to be celebrated and cherished, and we believe that moms should be celebrated and cherished too. So, from us to you, we say,
You
You
the
the
mom.
Mom.